Dear Excellencies, colleagues, and friends, I'm delighted to have this opportunity to speak to you today. The theme of your event could not be more timely. Heads of state and government adopted the New York Declaration by consensus last September, following which they have committed to developing a global compact on safe, orderly, and regular migration by late next year. Now, this presents a unique opportunity to harness the positive forces of migration for the benefit of millions. Migrants themselves, of course, but also the people that they left behind and those who will be hosting them. Yet this opportunity comes at a very challenging time. Perceptions of migrants as a burden, or worse, as a threat, have moved in some countries from the fringes to the mainstream. This makes the need for a global compact all the more pressing, and this, in turn, requires setting the record straight. Migration is a complex issue. It's not a trend. It has been with us from time immemorial and will be with us for as long as we can project into the future. And it is an overwhelmingly positive story, despite the stresses and the setbacks. It brings with it added prosperity, innovation, and progress. It's a potent motor of development, and needless to say, it's a life-changing experience for generations, migrants and host communities both. For this reality to overtake some of the most outrageous misconceptions about migration and migrants, accurate reporting on migration is critical. It requires not only a responsible depiction of facts and events, but also a proper setting of context. Above all, it entails a responsibility not to exacerbate prejudices and tensions with misleading information and biased terminology. Media, social media in particular, play a strong role in shaping public opinion. In democratic settings, policymakers and political decision-makers often yield to strong but misguided voices in public opinion. Responsible reporting should include the perspective of the migrants and of the communities in which they live. Migration is foremost about people's lives. Properly understood and conveyed, their stories are complex, nuanced, and deeply personal. And the broader context matters as well. Now, dear colleagues and friends, I want to encourage you to see the United Nations as your partner in enriching a fact-based narrative on migration. And this starts with a warning about the use of language. Not always innocent at the outset, there has been a rise in the widespread use in media and in everyday conversation of demeaning language to describe migrants. Terms such as illegal or criminal to refer to a migrant, which purport to refer to their legal status but are, of course, pejorative and very often inaccurate. Or again, the term economic migrant, ostensibly to distinguish from refugee, but again used pejoratively to refer to someone less deserving of welcome. And finally, disaster imagery to describe migration, such as swarms, invasions, floods, and hordes. Even when innocently used, all those serve to pollute public opinion. A continued attachment to negative labels to migrants leads to harmful and insurmountable stereotyping. It's often accompanied by political calls to restrict or halt migration altogether, thereby heightening negativity in the media. The link between this and intimidation or even acts of violence against migrants might be difficult empirically to establish. Equally, intuitively, it's very difficult to dismiss. In order to address misconceptions of migration and the discriminatory, xenophobic, and intolerant views those misperceptions can foster, we need to create a more open, balanced, and comprehensive discourse about migration. And we need the media to live up to its professional responsibility in the marketplace of ideas by engaging just as responsibly in the marketplace of facts. So as governments around the world begin to negotiate a global compact on migration, we need more than ever before an accurate portrayal of migrants and of migration in the media to help shape public discourse and policy. There are today an estimated 244 million international migrants, and this figure is only expected to increase as the world's population itself increases. On the other hand, in general terms, the proportion of people on the move is relatively stable at around 3% of the world's population. People have always moved in search of new opportunities and better lives, just as they've always sought to move to protect themselves and their families from oppression, violence, and deprivation. In doing so, migrants have immeasurably enriched the cultures and the economies of their home and destination countries. Migration can bring renewed vitality to host communities only if we foster a two-way exchange that allows both migrants and host communities to thrive and to benefit collectively. We cannot speak of migration from only one point of view. We must address the many complexities inherent in a person's decision to migrate and also in host communities' degrees of acceptance of foreigners. In addressing these questions, we should not pander to the most ungenerous sentiments among us, but nor should we be deaf to the concerns some communities have about their changing identities. In other words, we must take seriously concerns about migration and migrants, even if, in fact, particularly if they are ill-founded or misguided. These concerns will be best addressed by a responsible, accurate narrative about migrants and migration. And finally, as trends suggest that pluralistic societies are likely to become more often the norm than the exception, one of the most important challenges for all of us is to help manage this growing social, cultural, religious, and ethnic diversity. In this regard, I'm especially proud to work closely with the Secretary General to support the Together campaign. Together starts a new dialogue about migrants, one that highlights the many contributions of migrants to foster social cohesion while countering negative stereotyping and falsehoods. This campaign puts the responsibility on each of us, including the media, to play a positive role to encourage a discourse based on facts and a dialogue that embraces diversity. In conclusion, while we collectively work towards the development of the Global Compact on safe, orderly, and regular migration, let us all together work to improve the public perception of migrants based on factual information about their positive contribution. This should help set the record straight and will assist immensely the decision-making process on an issue that concerns all of us. Thank you.